Bubba built it.
Hi guys.
Hey, how you doing? Part 2 of Horse Force.
Yeah, so last time we kind of walked you through the process of how we choose a project and how we choose a donor and how we decide what it's going to look like and all those types of things. But now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, right?
Right.
Where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. All right, so it's Valentine's Day. We got our wonderful $500 Mach 1, which you're going to buy them every day of the week, right? As a matter of fact,
you have to. It's state law.
It's actually state law. They'll arrest you if you don't.
Yeah,
actually.
it's pretty bad. It's pretty serious.
Or if you, I guess you can call a friend, and you call us if you find any more of those.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then we'll help you get out of that situation.
So anyway, they took a giant forklift and loaded it onto our trailer, and the reason they did that is because it was not even rolling.
It's not going to move under its own power or any other power.
There was no power, actually, but it did have 4 wheels. That was the closest thing to allow it to resemble something that would move. But anyway, we got this big hunk of metal on our trailer, and after the excitement subsided of the golden hour, after I pulled it home, it's sitting on the trailer. I think there's a few pictures of that. But now we've got it at the shop, and we've got to get it off the trailer. And if you deal with one of these immobile things, you're going to run into these kind of problems.
All sorts of different ways to do this. We've done it with a tree.
Chain on a tree.
Chain on a tree and pull out from under it.
We did that one recently, I think.
We did with a Jeep XJ. And then, of course, you can use the forklift.
Or another vehicle.
Van, which is what we did. Because we needed it inside the shop.
Not outside, right.
Just so happened that we have a 66 Country Squire, Country Sedan, Ford wagon inside the shop and 460 in it.
Yeah, so it's a good thing it was a 460 too, because we needed all 400 foot-pounds plus of that torque to pull it off of the trailer. Because you'll see there's a 12-foot long black streak.
At least 1 or 2, maybe 3 wheels completely locked up.
One for sure rolled. We know that.
Right.
Yeah, so this is was in a sad condition, but I don't know about you all, but teardown is kind of one of the delicious, fun parts of a build. So there's a lot of great
demolition
things.
Day.
Yeah, it's demolition with a purpose.
Yeah.
And so one of the fun things about the teardown is to kind of play Indiana Jones archaeologist and just dig in.
The people debris that you find inside a vehicle, dimes. Pennies.
Yeah, that's the other fun thing. Like if you ever do one of these, it might be like us, especially if it's one like this that literally been sitting for 35 years. You want to look at the coins and see what's the newest coin.
Or the oldest.
Or the oldest, There's, so that was part of the process. And then, as Lee mentioned, the people dander. We found a Pepsi-free lid. I mean, I think the most prolific Pepsi-free reference might be the second Back to the Future movie where he orders a Pepsi-free, but
he's Pepsi-free.
Yeah, you gotta pay for that.
Yeah,
you gotta pay for that, buddy.
Pay for that.
I don't have a tab here. We found an old.
Just give me a tab.
Right.
I don't even know you, man.
So we found a dentine wrapper. I think we found an old Twinkie ring that came. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was, one of the coolest things that we found though was that we opened the glove box and literally in the glove box was
some fuzzy dice. Nothing says 1970s like fuzzy dice, hanging from the mirror.
Again, the car speaks to you, right? It tells the story of what was once a special car.
Yeah, the deluxe interior, red on black, white, Wimbledon white.
Wimbledon white with the black graphics package from the factory, and again, most of this stuff is still original. It was in very sad condition, but it was really. But you can still see just the glints of what this thing used to be, and I think we've.
You
got
can just imagine what it looked like on the showroom floor back in 70.
Would have loved this thing.
73.
72.
72.
But and there's a lot of pop culture references. We talked about this whole Mustang thing already, right? So. The Grande Mustang, the biggest of the Mustangs, the thick girl Mustang, you can call it. But it's got a lot. It got a lot of hate over the years, but it has some pretty cool cultural references.
It does, like James Bond. It was in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah, I think he did some pretty cool stunts with that. But I think the most prolific, maybe perhaps, was the original Gone in 60 Seconds movie, which really has little to do with the one that.
You mean the one with Nicolas Cage?
No, that's not.
Nicolas Cage is the original.
That's not the original one. No, the original one was slightly more gritty and a lot more destructive. Perhaps they tore up some real stuff, and I think that the anti-hero in the movie, you might say, he actually completely destroys the mustard yellow Mach 1, and it was a good thing that it was. such a giant basho around car, because I mean, it's really unbelievable that it was still driving if you watch that movie.
Yeah, put it through some serious abuse.
Yeah, so anyway, lots of cool cultural references. And then one of the things that kind of gets us, again, we talk about the 1/64th scale thing, right? And as a kid, we both had some of these, the Matchbox especially made a Mach 1 Matchbox, and it was really kind of bulgy and muscular, and they always had either a opening hood or it had a big engine sticking out of the hood, or and that's kind of what we wanted to recreate with the shape of this thing. But anyway, so we got into the build, we got into the teardown, and we realized that it was a perfect choice, because
it is not restorable. You're not going to put this thing back on the road as it is. It was just Swiss cheese throughout the trunk pan. The firewall had issues.
Yeah.
The floor pans, all of it.
Interestingly enough, the one thing that was solid, that's good to have solid on these, is the rockers. The rockers were very solid, but the floors were really rough. Under the battery box in the front, where the suspension, where the torque arm comes forward, that was completely just blasted. The tail pan was completely gone, just about. You remember seeing the video
where he's tearing off the bumper with his bare hands.
With my bare hands. And so the trunk was terrible.
He had to rebuild the entire leading edge of that trunk lip, and we'll show you that. Much, not this video, but later.
Yeah. So that was, but the nice thing is that aside from the passenger side door and the trunk lid, everything, and the hood.
The hood.
Everything else was in really, the part that we needed, the shell, was in great shape, but everything that wasn't was a lot, and that means we basically cut the thing from stem to stern. From all the way up front, cut the whole core support out, the firewall, the floor, the trunk, what was left of it, all of it, and you'll see it. There's a shell. It is up on the
falls apart.
Up on the lift, and that gets me to another thing. You need to be prepared for the work that this is. It's a lot of work, and you need
some really good tools.
You need some tools. Yeah.
You need a lift, as he's talking about right there. That's just critical on
if you
something
don't
like this.
have a lift,
you can do it.
There are substitutes. I have in the past, before we had a lift, used an A-frame and a chain hoist, or perhaps a strong rafter, because you're going to be lifting generally in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 pounds
at least,
with a full body.
I would say at least.
Yeah, unless it's a truck, and then you're talking more like 300 or 400. But anyway, you need to have at least a chain hoist. But it's nice to have a lift. I have seen people use an actual engine hoist to do this kind of work before, and that is possible. It gets a little sketchy. But another thing, of course, that's near and dear to our heart is the wheel of death.
The wheel of death. Yeah. Many a times I see him in there using the wheel of death, and I'm like, man, why don't you grab some safety glasses?
I mean, okay. The main thing about the wheel of death is stay out of the plane of rotation. If you know what that is, right? Because this thing is bound by the laws of physics, right? The things are going to sling out from the plane of rotation. Think of it like the blade extending out in all directions, in every direction, and as long as you stay out of that, you're generally in pretty good shape.
Generally,
right?
Yeah, we're just talking about eyes here, though.
Well, the other thing, though, when the wheel of death is in an angle that you can't get to really well, of course, Sawzall is good, and you'll see us employ that to some degree. But then we did get a plasma cutter when we started building Transland, and that's been really handy.
It has been very handy. We picked one up from Eastwood.
Yeah,
Eastwood, right?
Yeah, exactly, Eastwood, because they had the best deal. We thought we might go to our local discount store,
and use the 20% off super coupon, but apparently that does not apply or work on the.
They've got lots of exceptions on that now, but you didn't used to do that.
Plasma cutter is one of them.
Anyway, so we got the unit from Eastwood, and as long as you hook up 220, it's a pretty good little unit.
It is.
And the thing about it is nice is consumables are generally a lot less for a lot of cutting, because you're going to go through those discs with the wheel of death. So anyway, those are just a few things that are really nice to have, because you're dealing with lots of rust and things that are stuck that don't want to come apart.
Right.
And of course, there's some basics like a hammer. Like you'll see me beating on this thing, Lee and I.
And dollies are good too.
Oh yeah, the dolly thing.
Very helpful.
So that is something you can get at the local discount tool store that is really handy. I think they're about They're about 80 bucks for a set of 4 perhaps, but they are really handy because as you'll see, we'll have a 500-pound section of floor with a rear end or a front suspension and core support and everything, and 2 dollies, and it just rolls like glass. And so logistics are always an issue with these types of things, and those are just some basics that you should employ, what you should have around. But we had a lot of stuff to get rid of, and as you can see, eventually we have this beautiful eggshell of a Mach 1 on the lift.
Right, so what you got to determine is what are you going to keep and what are you going to get rid of? Yeah,
and that is one of those things that there's 2 schools of thought, right? One is to cut more away and then add back, right? The other is to get as close as you can, or to get it where you know you're going to have to cut some more, and as you let it down with the lift and up and down.
Again, that's the reason why the lift is so handy and nice.
But it's kind of the best thing to do is kind of somewhere in between the two, because in an ideal world, you're going to cut exactly what you need to get away and put it together, right, without having to add anything back. But that's not how it works. And we really just try to leave as much structure as we can possibly, and then weld it back. So. Anyway.
Yeah, and so that brings us to tearing down the donor. And one of the things that you often come up with on a unibody teardown is you'll get some people telling you, you know, you're cutting out way too much, and you're going to get to this point, and it's going to go ka-dink like that.
Yeah, the minute you say unibody donor, the expert starts to crawl like zombies out of the limo and say, oh, you're going to die.
Hey, it is a little bit alarming, right? You're getting to that last, you know, either C or A pillar, and you just, you know, you're thinking there's a possibility. However, that's unfounded because...
Well, here's the thing that kind of perpetuates the myth is that the early unibody cars had some issues.
Yeah.
So like one of the ones that sticks out in my mind were those giant, beautiful, but giant 58 or 59 Lincolns that were unibody, and you know, but for instance, those didn't even have B pillars, you know,
right?
And so the industry was kind of learning their way through that, and they had over time they would have some door opening problems or things like that.
Right.
And then, of course, one of the ones that, like for racing, for example, is the Fox body Mustang.
Yeah, with enough horsepower behind, it would actually twist
enough to crack, you know, the floor in places and things. So this one, we cut everything off of it, and took the doors off of it. And then we're like, let's just put this to the test.
Let's really put it to the test.
Because it didn't seem to be, it didn't seem to be moving. So when we took 1,000 pounds of mankind and stuck in this car, well, it's true. I mean, do the math. It was me, you, it was Austin, it was Alex, and Ezra. And that's over 1,000 pounds of man right there. Anyway,
it just doesn't sound
piled
good.
into the, and one child, piled into this car and drove it down to the store. Or did we just
this may or may not have happened.
Or I'm not sure if we
what you're seeing here is a reenactment, possibly a reenactment of what could have possibly maybe transpired.
It's what could happen.
It may have.
Perhaps. You know what we did? We called an AI bot, and we were like,
ooh, there you go.
We were like, let's just have a scenario where we take a chassis,
Lincoln Mark
VIII that's been cut away, and 5 people get in it and drive to the store.
With no seats.
What would that video look like?
Yeah, what would that video look like?
This is here for your pleasure.
Yeah, reenactment. Wait, we've already got one chair in here.
Michael, if you jar this, I'm gonna flip in the leak. Hey, don't spin the fender.
So, did they ticket us all? Do we all get a ticket?
For what? Seatbelts?
Well, seatbelts.
$120. Michael, if you flip me off into the road.
I'm not gonna do this. Roll it back, you. I got it straightened up, Mike.
What's the matter if you hit something? Get a hard left. You're cutting them off.
This thing feels very responsive.
Yes, this is actually.
He said it is. Very responsive, so let's not figure out how responsive. Woohoo! I said don't figure out.
Seriously, don't kill me.
I'm not gonna kill you.
I'm at a near-death experience right now.
We really need a picture of it.
Maybe
Yeah, when we get to the gas station.
for sure. We'll get someone there to take a picture. Whoa! Do not go, Michael. Do not go.
Daddy, no! Daddy, no!
Okay, we're going.
Okay.
Next video, we're going to talk to you guys about how we did the wide body, how we decided to do it, what are the pitfalls we ran into, and then all the other finishing
And some
things that we
creative
did.
solutions along the way.
Well, and again, that's what these kind of things are. It's like a big puzzle, and you're just taking one puzzle a piece at a time, and end it with something that works in the end. And anyway, thank you for being here with us to share.
Absolutely. And hey, if you haven't done it, subscribe and hit that like button.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.